Hey everybody, Tara Castaneda here, Diamond Senior Ruby Ambassador with Plexus. And today I wanted to talk about how to build a sustainable business. And a lot of times people don't understand, or a lot of times people think that that just means, having as many people on your team as possible. Well, yes, that is a portion of it. To build a sustainable business, it is more about creating and developing leaders on multiple levels of your organization. So today I want to talk about what I consider a legacy leader. So someone who's creating that legacy business. And I talked about this a little bit at convention. So this is some training I wrote for my training portion of convention for diamonds and sapphires. So you may have already heard this if you're a diamond or sapphire. But I wanted to talk to everyone else about how to build or become a legacy leader so you can build a legacy business. So if I look over here, I'm looking at notes. So a legacy leader really does a few things in particular. And one, they model success. Okay, so they're living examples of the attitudes and actions that they want others to follow. Okay, when I think of a prime example of how a leader models success, it starts with holding hope high. Holding hope high. A great leader provides hope to their team and to their audience when that team or audience is unable to find hope. Okay, people will continue working. They will work through struggle. They will try. They will give effort, even in the best of times, even in the worst of times, as long as they have hope. Right. A little story for you is about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, Plexus went through a back office change with a company, a third-party company called InfoTrax. And the transition was not smooth. That third party didn't follow through with many of their promises and kind of left us as a company kind of stuck in some ways. And we've since gotten rid of them and are doing way better. But during that time, it was really challenging. Really, really, really challenging. Like every time you turned around, there was a challenge. And it was hard. And there was struggles. And we had to try. And we had to work super, super hard to do what normally wouldn't have taken so much effort. Right? But here's a story for you. During that super, super, super hard time, between my business and David's business, my husband's, we grew over 8,500 points in about 6 months. That was combined. And that was through the start of that back office change with InfoTrax. Why do I say that? I say that because no matter what you're going through, no matter what challenge you are facing, you and your team are facing, as long as your team has hope that there is a benefit on the other side, and that your attitude is positive, and you're modeling success as a leader, you will persevere, right? You will persevere. Culture had a huge piece to do with that, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But it was hope that really solidified us as a team. There was no obstacle that was going to stop us. We didn't even go there. Our minds did not even go there. It was like, InfoTrax, what? We're going. Doesn't matter, right? I read a book recently that stated, our people will have hope only if we give it to them. And we will have hope to give if we maintain the right attitude. So that goes to saying with, if there's computer IT issues going on, or if there's personal issue that you've got going on, or you have a downline member that's giving you some flack, whatever, as long as you maintain the right attitude for your team, hope will exist. You'll have hope to give, and hope will exist then on your team. Number 2, what legacy leaders do. They keep it simple. Guys, this business is simple. It's so simple. It's simple. It's not always easy, but it is simple. It's simple. And we have resources with Plexus. Your team, your upline has resources. If your team and your upline does not have resources, there are so many resources on YouTube and through Plexus corporate that will benefit you. Right? There are so many leaders that have YouTube channels, myself included. So there are resources out there, but keep it simple, right? And we're going to talk about how you keep it simple in a little bit too. but it's really just about 3 S's. You share, you sponsor, and you succeed. Share, sponsor, succeed. Keep it simple. And what does succeed mean? It means to develop people beneath you, which leads me into my third point. What do legacy leaders do? This is the most important one, and this is where the bread and butter is of this training video. Legacy leaders develop leaders who develop leaders who develop leaders who develop leaders, right? It's not just you developing leaders, okay? That is key. You've got to figure out that piece of it, right? You've got to develop leaders, but then you've got to be able to develop those leaders enough so that they develop leaders, and so on and so on. Catch my drift? Okay. These legacy leaders, they train success principles. They invest in new ambassadors, runners, everyone, anyone in their downline that's showing commitment, not just interest, right? Investing in people is investing in growth, right? You've heard of that. If not, welcome to the table. You're hearing it now, okay? Investing in people is investing in growth. It's investing in longevity. It's investing in sustainability. It's investing in your legacy business. I promise you that. So how do you develop leaders? Well, it starts with you. So first, I want to show you this book real quick. I have it out here. We'll back up. John Maxwell has one. I don't have the book on me. John Maxwell has a book called The 5 Levels of Leadership. Write that down. Read that book. I read it in about an hour and a half on a plane ride. Super fast read, but it was mind-blowing for me. When I was stuck as an emerald, I mean, I'm sitting at 1,500 points every single month. Nothing's happening for like 6 months. I read that book, and it was like something just unlocked in my brain, and I said, oh my goodness, I have been missing the boat. I need to develop myself as a leader, raise my level of leadership so that I can do the same down. Incredible book. After you read that book, then you need to read this book right here. John Maxwell, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0. That's important. 2.0. It's an updated version of the book. You cannot develop leaders beneath you unless you develop yourself. Okay? That is not your upline's responsibility to develop you. It is a blessing if they do. Okay? But don't expect it. Don't sit there and go, oh, well, my diamond 4 levels above me is just not pouring into me. It starts with you. Okay? You've got to develop yourself as a leader. John Maxwell argues that you are unable to attract and retain leaders at a higher level of leadership than you are. So if you find yourself as a level 1 or 2 leader, you're only going to attract level 1. Let me back up. If you're a level 2 leader, you're only going to attract level 1 leaders, maybe level 2, right? So you've got to raise your level of leadership, your leadership lid, okay, through honing your skill sets, reading about leadership, reading books like this. There's actually a workbook. So this is the actual book that you read. There's actually a workbook on Amazon where it prompts you and questions you, and you really get to think. It's a great book to do a book study with. Just with your top 20%, like you pick your 1, 2, 3 top leaders who are committed to do that with. You've got to develop yourself so that you can then develop others, right? Douglas Lawson quotes, "We exist temporarily through what we take and get, but we live forever through what we give to others." So after we have developed ourselves, right, and we raise our own leadership lids through practice and reading and self-development, self-growth, honing our skill sets. After we do that, then we need to give that back to others, right? And that's where your legacy business, your sustainable business, your residual business will form. Developing leaders who develop leaders. We want our businesses to live forever. That's the beauty. That's the gift that's in front of you. That's legacy. So we've got to give to our people, grow them up, invest them up, rise them up. When you go to develop leaders, you're taking them on a journey with you. This is not a destination. It's not destination diamond. It is a journey to diamond and beyond. Okay? So it's important for us to know 4 things about people if we're going to go and develop them. So, number 1, people want to feel worthwhile. They want to feel important. They want to feel useful. I don't care who you are, what gender you are, what age you are, what your background is. Every human has this innate desire to want to feel worthwhile, helpful, useful, important. A practical example for you is my dad. My dad is ex-Navy. He's retired due to some disabilities that he's got, some health disabilities that put him in early retirement. But he is a man of few words. He's pretty stoic, and I swear, like, if you ever played a trivia game with this man, I don't know how he knows all he knows. He's like a walking encyclopedia. Kind of creepy. But he has lived 7 hours away from his family for a really long time. My dad and I didn't have a great relationship growing up, but once I became an adult, we did some forgiveness and some mending, and now we have a beautiful relationship. But he's spent a majority of his life away from family and away from people. And just recently, my husband and I bought a ranch, and my dad has just lit up with this idea. And he doesn't tend to like to travel. He's pretty anxious when it comes to travel, but he is asking all the time to come and visit us, which is a 7-hour drive for him, which is a big deal. It hurts his legs to do that. But I mean, he will call and he will almost give off a list of things, did you know I could help with this, or I could help with this, or I could help with this. It was so apparent to me that a nearly 70-year-old man who is very set in his ways and pretty stoic was seeking to be helpful and useful and important and valuable to his family. And that literally lit him up. So we invited him down, and I've never seen him more vivacious than that trip when he felt important. So people of all backgrounds want to feel important. So it's important for you to know that when you go to develop your leaders. Number 2, people respond to encouragement. They do. What's the saying? People will perform more when you recognize them, right? Something along those lines. But it's true. It's true. Public edification, what is that? Public recognition in front of their peers, in front of their audience. Or just thoughtful, you send a voice message and say, hey, I saw you welcome that new ambassador. Way to go. That's awesome. Or, hey, I saw your post. That was really vulnerable and probably tough for you to do. I'm really proud of you. It can be private, it can be public, but encouraging people, even if you see somebody that's struggling, being like, hey, I just want you to know that you're not alone. I see that you're probably struggling right now, or I see that, it's not, your business isn't going where you probably want it to go, but I'm here and I believe in you and we can do this together, right? How wonderful is it to feel that you are not going unnoticed? Right? Pretty powerful. So people respond to encouragement. John Maxwell talks about something a little bit more on encouragement, that he encourages us to provide a spirit of approval versus a spirit of criticism. Okay? Spirit of approval versus spirit of criticism. A little practical story for you. I have someone on my team that I love her to pieces. I just love her to pieces. But she's curious as to why her team isn't growing, and she's also been asking why she and I, our relationship, have kind of distanced. She is always the first person to message me that there's a typo in my post, or that I didn't do something right, or I need to update this, or I could have done this a little bit differently, or you know what, my post probably isn't compliant. And I haven't even been contacted by compliance, but she's the first to notice it. And instead of saying, hey, I really loved your post, I had a quick question about it though. It's, hey girl, I don't think that your post is right. I also know she's doing that to her teammates. And I know that it's coming from a good intention. She's wanting to protect her team and teach her team. But the spirit that is being felt by the other person is a spirit of criticism rather than a spirit of approval and encouragement. So be careful about how you're saying what you're saying. Right? It's all well and gravy if you know your intentions are great, But if the person receiving your message does not feel those same intentions, it's all null and void. Okay. So the number 3 thing that people naturally want to feel, and this is important for us to know when we go to develop our leaders, is that people are naturally born motivated. Okay, so another practical example for you. My middle child, she's 3. So my first child, she's 4, and she's very type A, wants to be perfect and good and helpful, and bless her heart, she's just, if it's a rule, it's being followed. Great for me, but that's just her personality. Then my middle child, who's 3, no. She lives in her own fantasy world. You know this child. The moment you see this child, 30 seconds into meeting this child, you know who this child is. In her own little world, she's chasing butterflies. She's making funny noises. She's falling and thinking it's funny. She will literally, she's done this ever since she was little. She will run into walls, literally just run smack into a wall, and nobody will be around her, but she'll just go, I bonked. I'm okay. I keep going. Right? She's always motivated to keep going. But this falls with any child. Think about a baby learning to walk. They try and fall. They try and they fall. And they try and they fall. And you don't have to encourage them to do it. They just do it. Right? They're naturally motivated. Somewhere along the way, humans were knocked down by something or various things that killed that motivation, that made us feel that that motivation wasn't good. It's our job as a leader to figure out what that was. Maybe it was a situation, or maybe it's a tape that's playing in their head. Maybe their mom or their uncle or brother or somewhere in their past told them that they can't do it, they can't do it, they can't do it. Or maybe they had a really bad experience where they failed before and it's paralyzed them. It's our job to figure out what that is that got them stuck feeling that they couldn't be motivated, and to re-engage that curiosity, re-engage that motivation. Right? So people are naturally motivated. We just have to find it if they are not exhibiting it. Something's knocked them down. And the 4th thing that people naturally are, or naturally do in this case, is people buy into you before they buy into a perfectly validated, wonderful cause or your perfect and wonderful leadership. Your cause can be 100% perfect. I mean, it's a fantastic cause. There's nothing wrong with it. It's completely validated. Your leadership could be the top of the top of the top of the top of the top. I mean, you could be John Maxwell's brother, right? Or his twin, and your leadership's top notch. But that does not matter unless people buy into you first. Right? People must buy into you first. Do they believe in you? They can believe in your cause, they can believe in your leadership, but if they don't believe in you, okay? So when you go to develop people, you got to remember those 4 things, right? Quick recap. They want to feel worthwhile, useful, helpful. They respond to encouragement. Don't be critical, be approving. They're naturally motivated, right? So find that motivation within them, and they got to believe in you first, okay? So when you go to develop people, you got to be aware and have these 4 things. Okay, knowing these 4 things is going to enable you to be more effective in developing those leaders, so that they can then develop other leaders and carry on that legacy business. Okay, it's hard not to agree with the statement that those closest to you determine your level of success or your level of failure. Right? The better they are, the better you are, right? You've all heard of you're most like the 5 people that you surround yourself with the most, right? Okay. Same when you're a Plexus organization. Your level 1s, their success or their failure determines your, success or failure. Okay. So how do you set someone up for success? Well, starting out of the gate, I don't care who they are, you've got to see them as a dream teamer, right? You've got to see them as a 10 in their own strengths, in their own rights. Bring forth their talents and place them in their strengths. Right? I'm a firm believer in strengthening strengths, not strengthening weaknesses. Okay. If you don't know your strengths, go get the book Strengths Finder 2.0. Take the quiz, read the book. Now you know your strengths. Tell your upline what they are. Right. ask your level ones what they are. Do this with your level ones. Send them that book. Super important to know what your people's strengths are so that you can magnify them and build them with that. Let's see. Looking at my notes over here. Yeah. Okay, we've already talked a little bit about that. So find their strengths. See them as a 10. See them as a dream teamer. Treat them as such. You all know what I'm talking about, where you sign somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, this girl's going to be so good. Oh, this guy's going to be so good. So I'm going to pour so much of my time and energy into them, and I'm going to prepare them. I'm going to love on them. I'm going to encourage them. I'm going to build them up. And then you sign somebody and you're like, they're not going to do anything with the business. I'll check in with them in a month. What do you think is going to happen with those two, right? Who do you think is more likely to succeed or to even try the business, right? So treat everyone as a 10 in their own strengths. Okay, so how do we go about helping our leaders be better? How do we develop and fine-tune their skill sets? This is through coaching and through equipping them for success. And so we've got 4 points here, okay, 4 points here on how to equip somebody for success, okay? Number 1 is you've got to share your dream and your organizational goals and your vision that's not just involving yourself, but the vision you see for your team with that person, but take it a step further, make them a part of it. Right? People want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, always, 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 right? They want to be helpful, useful, worthwhile, right? What was that first point that I just mentioned? Share your dream, share your organizational goals. Say, guys, I see us as a diamond team. We are a diamond team together, but I need you with us. You are a part of that diamond dream. Without you, it's impossible. So I am vowing right now to get you to your goals so that we as a team can get to our goals, because we are powerful. Right? Share those dreams and goals with them. Number 2, success and commitment go hand in hand. Success and commitment, okay? I want you guys to pour into those who are committed, not those who are interested. There's a huge difference. You know, you have somebody's like, yeah, I want to start my business, and yeah, I want to fast track gold, but then they die off like 2 days later, and you're like, they just ghosted me. Where did they go, right? They're interested, not committed. Interest fades when convenience fades or when ease fades, right? But commitment doesn't waver. Those who are committed are your leaders. I don't care what rank they are your leaders. Those who are committed are your leaders. And that doesn't mean that they always have the higher rank titles. I mean, you want to find, I encourage you each, if you've got a larger organization, look at your levels 1, 2, and 3. If you have a smaller organization, look at your 1s, maybe 2s. And I want you to identify the top 20%. So John Maxwell at convention talked about, you know, if you have 10 people, pick your top 2, 20%, right? Find your top 20% of committed leaders who are willing to do this with you. Those are the people you want to pour into. So identifying who you need to spend your time with is pretty valuable in knowing where to develop those or who to develop those leaders. Okay, number 3 is train them with the I do, we do, you do mentality. This goes with anything you do in Plexus. It can start with the very most simple 3-way chat with a potential where, you know, you've just signed this level 1 and they're like, hey, my sister's kind of interested. I don't know what to say. So can you help me with this? Absolutely. So you start a 3-way chat, right? So in this 3-way chat, you've instructed your new level 1 to say, hey, Sarah, I'm super excited you're interested in Plexus. I want you to hear my friend. She's been doing it for a while. Since I'm still newer, I want to make sure that your questions are answered, and I'd love for you to hear her story. I think you'd really like it. Boom. Start the three-way chat. Don't even ask for permission. Just start the three-way chat. It's okay. You're not going to die. So I do, we do, you do, right? So in that three-way chat, the sponsor, not the new level one, the sponsor is then going to start the conversation, and they're going to have the conversation. So I do, right? You as the leader, I do. And so they're watching. And then the next one that they have, then maybe you both conversate, we do. And then the last one, you do a three-way chat together, but you let them lead and you're there monitoring so you can offer encouragement or tips at the end, right? So I do, we do, you do. So you can go back to the very most simple thing of a three-way chat all the way to a more advanced coaching call that your leader, your advanced leader on your team is doing with their new leader that they want to develop, right? I do, we do, you do. I do, we do, you do. I do, we do, you do. It offers encouragement, validation. It makes them feel worthwhile. They're important to you. They're valuable, right? Keeps them motivated, all those 4 things that we talked about. And then they're going to believe in you because they're going to see you work, right? So train them with the I do, we do, you do. And number 4, this is how you equip somebody with success, is you provide encouragement and security. Okay, great leaders know how hard it is to develop people. Why? Because it's people. Humans are hard. There's lots of emotions involved, and there's, happiness and disappointment and goods and bads, and people can be hard, right? Relationships are hard. So developing people, it's hard, but great leaders do it anyway. They do it through the tough stuff. They do it scared, they do it tough, they do it exhausted, they do it, right? Norman Cousins has a great quote, and it says, "People are never more insecure than when they become obsessed with their fears at the expense of their dreams." I want to say that again. People are never more insecure than when they become obsessed with their fears at the expense of their dreams, right? So help provide security over any sort of fear that your downline has, no matter what fear that is. How are you going to find that out? You ask. You gotta ask. This goes back to the basic of the most basic of the most basic here, of when you're talking to someone who's interested in Plexus and they say, okay, well, maybe later, or okay, not right now. Guys, you've got to keep the ball in your court and ask them, hey, what's holding you back? Maybe I could learn from it, or maybe I could help answer some questions that you have. When they tell you what's holding them back, when they tell you their fear, then you have the power to help them overcome it, right? Same thing with your downline. They could be an ambassador for 3 years, and all of a sudden a new fear pops up. It can happen. See what their fears are. Help provide security and encouragement around that. If you yourself have fears over developing leaders, you got to figure out why you've got that. And either be the upline you wish you had and help yourself overcome that fear, or reach out to your upline or your sideline partner and go, hey, talk me through this. Why am I so afraid of developing leaders? Because it's so tough. I'm afraid I'm going to spend all this time and nothing's going to come of it. What is it? And help overcome of it, right? It goes back to mindset training, right? What we believe becomes. So if you've got a fear in your head, right, what is it? What is that? False expectations appearing real. Fear, F-E-A-R, false expectations appearing real. When you have a fear in your head, your brain will think it's truth. Right? So when you have a fear, you think it and it becomes, right? So if you address that fear and you turn it into something different, something positive, then you believe that to be the truth, because your brain can't decide between, your brain just believes what you're telling it. It's like a computer, right? If I tell the computer to push X, it's going to type an X on my Word document here, right? So your brain's similar. So what you're telling it becomes. If you're telling yourself your fears and your doubts, it's going to happen. If you're telling yourself differently, that's going to happen, right? So legacy leaders make their teammates feel bigger than they are. Make your teammates feel bigger than what they already are. Why? Soon, that leader is going to begin to think it, right? That mindset. Help your teams feel bigger than they are. Soon they'll be able to think it. And then once they think it, guess what's going to happen? They're going to act on it. And when they act on it, what's going to happen? Then they're actually going to produce bigger results than they are, right? Produce bigger than they are. And then when that happens, what happens? Well, they've become bigger than they think they are. See how it all falls into piece, right? So tell your teammates that they're bigger than what they already are because you believe in it. It will happen for them, right? It will happen for them. So when you develop other leaders who develop other leaders, that's going to be that sustainable business that you're looking for. And that's what's going to outlast even your own leadership. You know, Harvey Firestone, the Firestone Tires, his quote is, "It is only as we develop others that we permanently succeed." Guys, I hope I'm drilling that into your head there, right? I hope I'm drilling that into your head. And guys, when you do finally develop some leaders, don't get complacent. Don't sit back and go, alrighty, I've got some leaders. They can do it for me. It doesn't work that way, right? You've got to always be keeping up with your personal business, right? That share, sponsor, succeed. Share, sponsor, succeed. Share, sponsor, succeed. It's the 3 S's. It's so simple in our business, right? Succeed is developing leaders, right? Developing silvers, golds, helping your level 1s to succeed. A lot of times people ask me about momentum in their business. And I always tell people that momentum doesn't just happen to you. It is something that you create, right? Momentum is something that you create. I want you to think about lightning for a quick second. So how does lightning happen? You're in a cloud, right? And I'm not a meteorologist, so don't quote me on anything scientific here. But you have a cloud, and inside this cloud is a whole bunch of like atoms and particles and water particles and all this stuff. And it's moving really, really fast in this cloud. So there's lots of action and activity. And then eventually, what's going to happen? Lightning's going to strike, right? That's what momentum is. Momentum started with just one particle getting motion, which then created another particle to get motion, and then another, and then another, and then another, and then lightning happens. Momentum is lightning. Momentum is lightning, right? But it starts with you to create that activity, and then getting your team to do that same activity. You know, and sometimes momentum takes 90 days to happen. What you do today affects your business in 90 days. So you can't just sit here and go, okay, well, I've been messaging like crazy for 20 days and I did a 21-day challenge with my team, but nothing's happening. Well, you're not giving it time yet. Do that for 90 days and then see what your business does. Watch what happens, right? You've got to create that momentum. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here to my notes real quick and take a look at this. Let's see. We talked about the share, sponsor, and succeed. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Hang tight. I'm looking at some notes here. Yeah. So, I mean, it really just goes back to developing those leaders. Oh, I've got a book for you on that. So we started with this book, right? Developing leaders within you, developing the leader within you 2.0. So you've got to start here. And then when you go to develop the leaders around you, so when you know the 4 things about the leaders that are about people so that you can lead them better and develop them better. You've identified your top 20%. You're equipping them with success that we talked about. This is a great book here. It's John Maxwell, Developing the Leaders Around You. Okay? So it really is a great tool for you to share, to take practical examples here and work with your leaders so that you're raising their leadership lid. That's going to be the key to this entire journey that you're on. If you started today, welcome. Right? You're ahead of the game watching this video. If you started 3 years ago, great. I'm proud of you for watching this video and taking what I'm saying into consideration. Because without developing your leadership, your level of influence won't increase, which means people won't join your team, whether it's for wholesale ambassadorship or for business building. And then furthermore, your business builders are not going to grow their leadership level because you're not growing yours. So you see how building your own leadership And then developing those around you is absolutely pivotal in building a sustainable business. So I hope that helps you guys today. I'm probably going to do a follow-up video sometime later on more of the nitty-gritty of developing leaders, but this should get you a good foundation for getting your mind right and working with the leaders that already exist on your team. And if you don't have any, you got to go find them. And if you still don't have any and you're still looking for them, you've got to develop yourself as a leader first.